The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Annette King.
Mr Speaker, I am very pleased to be able to rise and speak to the third reading of the Home and Community Support Payment for Travel Between Clients Settlement Bill. And I have to say I am a little disappointed that the Minister's contribution was so brief to something that is so historic and so life-changing for many of those who are going to be the beneficiaries of this bill. I want to begin by congratulating those who had the courage to bring this bill to the House because of the battles they fought to ensure there was a test case on behalf of hundreds of home care workers in New Zealand. And I particularly want to acknowledge Jenny Goodman and the PSA, with the support of the CTU and others who backed her to bring a case, a test case, to ensure that our home care workers were going to be able to receive payment when they travelled from one job to the next. And I think if it does nothing, Mr Speaker, it shows the value of belonging to a union. When a union can take up on behalf of a vulnerable worker and workers the situations that they face and can put forward the fight for them. And that's exactly what happened in this particular case. And we have a number of others also that are being settled, driven by the unions who could see the unfairness of what was happening to their membership. And so in fact, this bill has come about also because of a ruling by the Human Rights Commission. And it has taken a long time to get to this point. But what I was pleased about, once an agreement had been reached between the employers, between the unions, between the Crown and those that are providing the services, then there was a rapid action here within the Parliament. So the bill was introduced on the 24th of September 2015. It received its first reading on the 13th of October 2015 and was referred to the Health Committee. We reported the bill back on the 15th of December, just before Christmas, as one of the last actions of the Health Committee. The Health Committee that worked very hard on this bill and made sure it was reported back before Christmas, because there had been agreement on what should be in this bill, and we wanted it out of the committee, ready for debate and passage in this Parliament when the Parliament resumed. And so here we are, Mr Speaker, passing the third reading of this bill on the date today. What's the date? The 18th of February. That is fast in terms of what this House can do. And so we are very pleased that we're going to be able to finish this bill today, and it will receive the Governor-General's assent in the next few days and will become the law. And so, Mr Speaker, there weren't a lot of submissions to the Select Committee, but that is because agreement had been reached, had been thrashed out as to what this bill would achieve. But I did think it was important that the major submissions from the employers, from the companies, from the organisations that employ our home care workers, that they were in unison in terms of what they said in their submission. So if you look at Access Home Care, they said, we support the bill and believe it provides major benefits to both our and the Home and Community Support Service sector, clients and employees. If you look at the Healthcare of New Zealand Group, Healthcare of New Zealand Holdings Limited, they said, we are supportive of the bill due to the benefit it will bring to our employees and the clients. This bill represents a positive change to the Home and Community Support Service sector. The New Zealand Federation of Business and Professional Women also made a submission, and they had a wider interest. In fact, they said they support the bill because we're committed to representing the interest of working women and advancing the empowerment of women in the workplace. They liked the fact that this bill was going through, but they also said that they want to see an increase in funding to the aged care providers to provide pay equity for all aged care workers in accordance with the Equal Pay Act 1972. That is something that has not yet been achieved. So when we are talking about this bill, we are part way there. We are not fully there because we do not yet have pay equity for these workers. These are vulnerable workers. These are particularly overwhelmingly women workers. And these are women who work for the minimum wage, the minimum hourly rate. They go out and they work on behalf of our families, our old mums and dads, our grandparents, for people that are in need of care in their home and in the community. That is how we're able to keep so many people within the community, because of this army of women who go out and support them. And they support them in many ways. You know, for some, and I'm sure you'll be aware of this, Mr. Speaker, having a person come to your home to do some home help for you, but just to talk to you, can mean more to your overall health than anything else. Many older people are lonely in their own homes. They don't have a lot of contact with people, but when their home care worker, their community worker comes into their home and does work for them, talks to them, becomes a friend to them, it has a double whammy for that person. And so we need to value these workers who do such a magnificent job for us. And so, Mr. Speaker, this bill will mean, and what does it mean? It means that they're going to get payment when they travel between one job and another. Right. And what is interesting is that we've never ever doubted that those who travel from one job to fixing your plumbing to the next job of fixing the plumbing up the road, that they shouldn't include in what's paid the cost of travel. But we haven't thought that it was important that those on low incomes, minimum wage, travelling in their old car, filling it up with their money, should be paid to go from one job to the next. And that is what this bill will do. This bill will ensure that they are paid at least the minimum wage when travelling between clients. They'll be paid the minimum allowance of at least 50 cents per kilometre for that travel. It does have a number of things in it. This bill removes the ability for employees to return this issue to the Crown. So it also removes the right to claim back pay. And that was not decided by this Parliament. It was decided by the settlement between those who were the parties to it. So they sat down and said, how can we be fair to the taxpayer, but also fair to those women who are providing this service and paying for their travel. And so they came to an agreement. They could have, I suppose, have gone and argued that there ought to be years of back pay for the work that they'd done, and it would have mounted to hundreds of millions of dollars, I suspect. But they came to an agreement that there would be remove the right to claim back pay. It also means that the definition of an employee is to be covered. And so we're now pretty clear what an employee is. It also does something we haven't done before, Mr. Speaker, and that is that we also included in the amendments that we made, and we made a number of amendments to the bill, we amended to include ACC in this legislation, because many of those who provide home services in the health sector also provide home services for ACC. So that came from changes that the Select Committee made, and I'm very pleased with that change as well. So, Mr. Speaker, this is it's a red letter day for those who have been fighting for years for fairness for our home care and support workers, payment for travel. Let's not think, though, this is the end of the story. I too would like to see pay equity for those many, many women providing this service. They are just as important to us as those that we say are important in trades and in professions. They are the backbone of the type of health service we are going to be able to afford in the future. I commend this bill to the House, and it has the full support of the Labor Party.